Yo, what's up guys, you're back with Tech Nick, and today we'll be unboxing the Redmi K30 against the Realme X2 Pro and the Xiaomi Mi Note 10 Pro aka CC9 Pro Premium Edition. These are all three incredible phones and I cannot wait to test out the K30 against the Realme, since it is pretty much won a spot in my heart, honestly guys, with that 855 plus processing chip for such a great value bang for buck. And the 108 megapixel cam on the Mi Note 10 is absolutely awesome guys. We have a 6 gig of RAM version on the Redmi K30 over here. That is the quickest one that I could get, also paired with that purple color over there. It's the only one that I could get as quick as possible. Let me know what you guys think of the color later on, but as for the cover, I don't really dig that flap over the Type-C port, but we do have a Type-C cord over here, though it is limited to USB 2.1 speeds, which kind of sucks, but you know what, most budget-friendly phones are these days, and this is really budget-friendly at just $240. We have a 27 watt fast charger as opposed to a 50 watt on the Realme, but the Mi Note 10 Pro comes with a 30 watt fast charger in the box, and the 27 watt and 30 watt are not, or pretty much the same size, if not bigger than the one on the Realme X2 Pro, and that's a 50 watt block guys. This purple color looks absolutely stunning. It is honestly the only one that I could get. It was not my first choice. I would have loved to have the white one, but that only comes with the 5G variants. I'll be getting to some differences between this and the 5G variant a little later. Just let me know what you guys think of this purple color. I'm actually kind of digging it. It's the first purple phone I've had on my channel ever. I'm not really digging the ring around the camera system over there, since it's an oval camera setup, but this is what Xiaomi did, but they had a square round setup, so it kind of looked a bit better. When it comes to putting the cover on here, it really doesn't look good if you ask me. I don't dig that flap guys. It can just flap off if you ask me, but anyway, the phone itself is great. Use that as a day one cover, but let's test it out against the other two over here. So honestly, the camera setup on the Realme and the Xiaomi I do prefer. I don't really like that round bit, and when it comes to logos, I think Realme have done one in for themselves there. Realme, please change that with the next phone. When it comes to the fingerprint sensor, it doubles up as the power button, and the volume rocker is pretty clicky, though it is just one solid bar, just like the Xiaomi. But as opposed to the Realme, we have the power button on the one side and the split volume rocker on the left side, which I actually prefer. I prefer it being not only just on the left, but actually split. It is much better. We have an IR blaster on the top, and we actually have room for dual SIM cards, and yes, a SD card slot, which is really awesome to see on a phone, since even the budget-friendly phones do scrap them these days. We have headphone jacks on all three phones over here with a downward firing speaker too. That's pretty cool. If you ask me, I really do like headphone jacks, but honestly, in my opinion, I don't even use them guys. I just use wireless buds. But we have 2.1 limited USB speeds through all of the phones, but we do have UFS 3.0 storage on the Realme. We have this massive speaker grill at the top of the K30, and when it comes to selfie snappers, we have a 20 megapixel selfie snapper, and that is paired with a 2 megapixel depth sensor as well, which is really cool in that pulse-shaped notch style that we do have on the K30's LCD screen. Now we do have a 64 megapixel IMX686 sensor that is made by Sony for the first time ever on a phone, with an 8 megapixel ultra wide, 2 megapixel macro, and 2 megapixel depth sensor. The only difference between the camera setup of this phone and the 5G model which will come out in January is that comes with a 5 megapixel macro sensor. When it comes to the X2 Pro, we have a 64 megapixel Samsung GW1 sensor, 8 megapixel ultra wide, 13 Taylor by 2 times optical zoom, and 2 megapixel depth. The Note 10 Pro comes with a 108 megapixel cell, a 20 megapixel ultra wide, 12 megapixel 2 times Taylor, and a 5 megapixel 5 times Taylor, which is upscaled to 8 megapixels. And of course, we also have a macro lens on that too. I really do like this 6.67 inch display on the Redmi K30. It looks absolutely stunning if you ask me guys. Though when you do compare it to AMOLED panels, this is max brightness on all three phones. The AMOLED panels being on the left and the right, and guys, look, we'll pull up the Xiaomi over here. You can see that the depth of colors just look a lot better on an AMOLED panel. You can notice it. I'm just telling you, when you have an AMOLED screen next to yours. But if you're just going to use a K30 as an IPS screen, it is one of the best LCDs that I've seen. It might struggle a little bit in sunlight. Let me know if you guys want to see that. And the bezels are slightly thick, but we do have that wonderful 120 hertz refresh rate panel. We don't have an option for 90 like we do on the Realme, but the Realme does cap at 90, and honestly guys, games can't even run past 90 even with the best graphics such as the 855 plus seen on the Realme. And the Realme can also choose individual apps on which utilizes the 90 Hz and which utilizes 60 Hz, which is really cool. I really applaud Oppo and Realme for doing that. Now usually on LCD panels we don't have the option for dark mode. With the K30 we do, and it's actually really dark guys. It's actually even darker than the Realme X2 Pro, but honestly I don't know how well this will actually do for the battery, since LCD panels actually emit light when it is a black screen, where the OLED panels just kill kill the pixels. We also don't have an always on display because we don't have an AMOLED panel. So that's also a bummer if that matters to you. And when it comes to the software department, we do have MIUI 11.0.5 on both the Xiaomi devices. Redmi is owned by Xiaomi, but the only one with Android out the box is indeed the K30 over here, which is really cool to see. Good job over there, Redmi. And when it comes to RAM, we have 8 gigs of RAM on the X2 Pro, 8 gigs of RAM on the Xiaomi, and the Redmi K30 is limited to 6 gigs of RAM on the model that I have, but it does go up to 8 gigs of RAM for those of you out there who want it. Now, when it comes to chipsets, we have 730G Snapdragons on the two devices on the right, and we have a flagship 855 Plus on the left. Honestly, guys, the Realme comes right in the middle of the prices of the Redmi and the Xiaomi over here. It is really good bang for buck. And when it comes to gestures, there's more gesture styles over there on the Realme as opposed to the other two, since you can actually go use the swipe up gesture as a back instead of just swiping in and out from the screens. Now guys, because this is an LCD panel, we don't have optical readers under the screen of the K30 over here. We do on the other two over here. So we're gonna go ahead and test it out. And honestly, things are pretty much exactly the same when it comes to the Realme X2 Pro and the Redmi K30. When it comes to unlocking using the fingerprint scanners, I do prefer a physical one. It's really nice and easy to grab on the right hand side over there of your device. And when it comes to facial unlock, I don't know what's happening with Redmi, but they are a lot slower. Usually Xiaomi are really fast, but they are quite slow when it comes to that. And I must say that the Redmi K30's fingerprint sensor is slightly faster than the Mi Note 10 Pro's one. But when it comes to facial recognition, the Redmi K30 is even slower than the Mi Note 10 Pro. I'm really surprised by that, if you ask me, guys, but it's not a huge deal breaker. Maybe that will fix with a software update. We're going to shoot right over to the camera comparison now between these three beasts. We're going to keep them all in the same order that we've been running through for this entire testing scenario. We're going to start with the Realme on the left, Redmi K30 in the middle, and the Mi Note 10 Pro on the right hand side. We're going to go from ultra wide to main to the bin shot that we see now. Then we're going to go to the 2x optical, which is limited to 2x digital on the K30. Since we don't have a telecamera over there, this is a binned portrait pic of all of them, and we do use that depth sensor on the K30 over there. And talking about macro sensors, we have a macro mode on the X2 Pro, but we don't have a macro lens for it. So we only have macro lenses for the two on the right, and things look pretty good on all three devices, I must say. When looking outside my building, I do think that colors looked the most washed out on the X2 Pro. If you're going for a phone with camera, I think stick with the two on the right. I must say I'm really impressed with the color variance on the K30, but things really start to ruin when you start to zoom in, since there's no telephoto lens, there's no hybrid zoom, there's just digital, and we get a max of 10 times as opposed to a max zoom of 20 times on the Realme and 50 times on the Mi Note 10 Pro. That is a bit of a bummer if you ask me, but what makes up for it is the selfie cam, guys. Looks absolutely perfect. I've never seen anything like it, and using that depth sensor makes a huge difference. Selfie lovers out there, go for the Redmi K30. When it comes to video, guys, we are limited to 1080p, 60 frames per second on all devices. It's actually a good thing, not really a limit. We do have optical image stabilization on Xiaomi, but not on the other two. When it comes to 4K, the only device that's running 4K at 60 frames per second is the Realme X2 Pro, though it doesn't have optical image stabilization. We are limited to 4K 30 on the other two because they are paired with a lower end Snapdragon 730G chipset. When it comes to ultra wide, we actually have 60 frames per second ultra wide on the Mi Note 10 Pro, and we also have 4K at 30 frames per second ultra wide with autofocus on the Mi Note 10 Pro. So ultra wide video footage definitely best on the Mi Note 10 Pro, but I'm not sure if it looks the best. It just has the best specs. When it comes to charging, guys, we're going to shoot onto that now. We have a wonderful 50 watt block on the Realme, 27 watt block on the Redmi, and 30 watt block on the Xiaomi Mi Note 10 Pro. I know that I did have a 27 watt block in hand there, guys, but trust me, I did use a 30 watt block. I just have a bunch of Xiaomi chargers lying around. Let me know if you guys want one. I'm just kidding, that would be a real bummer to try get to you since I am in China. Hitting that 5-minute mark, guys, we have 19% on the X2 Pro, 9% on the K30, and 5% on the Mi Note 10 Pro. Me hitting that 10-minute mark, 33% on the X2 Pro, 18% on the K30, and 13% on the Mi Note 10 Pro. Guys, the X2 Pro is absolutely slashing it, but it does have the smallest battery out of the bunch and the fastest charging. What do you expect? So 40% full charge on the Realme X2 Pro, compared to 24% on the K30 and 19% on the Xiaomi Mi Note 10 Pro. It's a bit of a bash if you ask me when it comes to charging, because I think faster charging can damage your battery over time. We're going to move on to bench results over here now. We're going to run the bench test. We're using performance mode and the 90Hz panel on the Realme, using 120Hz panel and game turbo on the Redmi, and we're using game turbo on the Xiaomi. We are limited to 60Hz. on the Xiaomi there, guys. So we're using AnTuTu version 8.1.6 on all 3 devices over here. And this is going to be an extremely quick test, so I'm going to run through most of the specs before we get going. We're going to start with battery at the start over here. We have battery temps at start and CPU temps at the start as well. So take a pause over here if you guys want to check it, but I will reference to the start of the test and the end of the test after we run the benchmark to see how things have changed throughout the course of running the benchmark test. Guys, this will be the fastest AnTuTu benchmark run you've ever seen in your entire life. These phones are ridiculously fast. Just look at them go, guys. No, but seriously, the Realme X2 Pro finishes first, of course, with a higher score, and it is quicker. Battery decrease, we have the worst decrease on the Redmi K30, which is actually surprising since the X2 Pro has a smaller battery and the K30 used more, but the 7nm chip in the X2 Pro is more efficient. The battery temp is the worst on the K30 and the best on the X2 Pro, and the CPU temp is the worst on the X2 Pro and the best on the K30. And the one in the middle is the Mi Note 10, but not when it comes to score. That one's the worst. The middle of the bunch is the K30, and obviously almost double the points with that Snapdragon 855 Plus flagship processor goes to the X2 Pro over there. Honestly, there's not much of a major difference when it comes to the K30 and the K30 5G, which will release next year, other than the Snapdragon 730G, 765G coming paired in that. That does have more efficient 7nm technology in it, but when it comes to the cores, we have a trio core setup as opposed to a dual core setup. We do have 8 cores, so it is octa cores on both of them, but this one has 2 of the same cores, where that one has a higher clock speed on a single core. So it's only 15% better in the GPU department, so you're not winning too much over there. I must say I'm really impressed with the K30 overall. I do think that the things that they have included in the phone have pleased me a lot, and for just $240 is ridiculous for a 120Hz refresh rate panel, guys. I think that that is the honest go-to buy option for this phone. If you want a high refresh rate panel, go for the K30, and it's nice to know that we can pop in an SD card there as well. Looks absolutely stunning in this purple color. I'm not sure I would personally go for that color, but it looks absolutely gorgeous if your girlfriend is in the mix for a new phone. I do like the Xiaomi Mi Note 10 Pro because of the curves. Honestly, it's just the curves alone though. Even the camera doesn't really impress me. But when it comes to the X2 Pro, it has so much going for it. It has a decent camera. Not the best camera, it has a really good screen. Not the biggest screen out of the bunch, but the one in the middle. Also the price in the middle, but the best performance, and that's what matters to me. I'm not sure what you guys would go for, but then again, I'm not on your budget. That's up to you guys. I know which one I'd go for. Let me know in the comments down below which one you would pick up if you could pick up any, and if you're struck with a budget, which one you'd go for. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until next time guys, this is Tech Nick.